Welcome to the Earthworks Podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Thanks again for joining us for the Earthworks Podcast. I am thrilled to have Rick Tegtmeier on this week. By popular demand, our staff made a short list of people that we wanted on the podcast, and Rick's name came up a couple times. So, Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. It looks like a couple days ago you had some snow on the ground. Still got it?
It's all gone now. It's been raining today, but really this is the first moisture we've had in about 4 weeks. So wow. It was getting very dry going into winter, and it was pretty welcome. We got about 2.5 inches yesterday.
That's that dry going into winter thing is a scary deal. That's where problems tend to arise, as I can attest.
Yeah.
So, well, good. So I did a little research to prepare for this. I'm normally pretty off the cuff, but I kind of went back through because I wanted to. It started with trying to refresh my memory on the Solheim Cup and some of the stuff that we'll talk about here, but some of the things that you did in preparation for that, which was significant. So I've got some good notes and stuff we want to talk about, but I want to start with kind of, as you would probably suspect, we have a bit of a connection. Your high school coach, golf coach, and basketball coach, I married his daughter. And I think that's kind of how we somehow pieced it all together, that we knew each other or we had some sort of connection. And the little town of Rockford, Iowa has produced a number of golf course superintendents, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Very small town, but and like every town in Iowa and Minnesota and the upper Midwest, they had a 9-hole country club for a long time. And you and I have commiserated about the conversion to a cornfield of that country club, but I'm sure that's where you got your start in golf, isn't it?
It really was. I started there back in 1973. My dad and I went into the bank one day, and the banker was the Greens chairman of this little golf course. And he said, "Hey, we need help laying sod." So 13 years old, I went out and started helping lay sod, and I must have impressed him because he asked me to come back and do things. And I ran a mower and a push mower and a weed eater. They give me a push mower, go mow around trees all day. And then when I got old enough to drive a triplex and started mowing greens and gang mower on fairways, and when it was time to go to college, he said, "What are you going to do?" And I had no idea. And he said, "There's turf schools. Let me help you get a loan." And the rest is history.
So where did you go to school? I don't know this.
I had actually applied at Iowa State, and I don't think my academics were good enough. I got turned down, so I went to Hawkeye Community College, just a 2-year turf program in Waterloo.
Okay.
Followed another guy named Chuck Chapman, who was from Rockford. He had gone there and got in the golf business. So I thought, well, good enough for Chuck. I'll try it, and got a job right away out of college at Urbandale Golf and Country Club here in northwest side of Des Moines. So kind of where it all started.
As an assistant?
No, a little 9-hole superintendent.
Yeah. See, there you go.
So it was 9-hole golf course. It's still there today. Very popular, nice golf course. I was there 2 years, and about the 6 months into it, I met a guy that was running Hyperion Field Club, Gene Jennings. And Gene told me, if you have aspirations to be a 18-hole superintendent, you either got to go back to college or go work on an 18-hole golf course. So he helped me get a job in Chicago as an assistant. I actually worked there 1 year. I was there for about 3 months, and the superintendent was let go. I was 21 years old, and they made me the superintendent for the rest of the year. And at the end of the season, they offered me the job. I said, I got to go back to Iowa.
Yeah.
So that's the only time in my career I've been out of state. And I got a job here at Des Moines Golf and Country Club in 1983. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so this was right around 1980 that you were in Illinois, and then came back.
Well, 80 and 81 I was at Urbandale.
Okay.
82 I was in Illinois, and 83 I was back here at Des Moines Golf.
And then from Des Moines you went to Elmcrest?
Correct. So I was the North Course superintendent here at Des Moines Golf from 83 to 89, and Bill Byers, who was my predecessor here at Des Moines Golf for 49 years, he said, what do you want to do with your career? And I said, I want your job. And he said, leave.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. So I had a couple job offers, one in Omaha, one at Elmcrest, and I took the Elmcrest job, and we were there for 17 years, and I loved it. It was a great club to work for, great people, just all around good club.
I think that was another connection. I think I mentioned that I had played there in college.
Okay.
And I think you were the superintendent at the time, but you know, at that point in my career, I had the illusion that I wanted to be a sweater folder, and yeah, thankfully that didn't work out. But so I don't know that we would have crossed paths, but I do remember playing that golf course.
I really think the first time I heard your name was, well, Jack had told me several times that his son-in-law was in Arizona, and then in Boise, and all that, and we had never met, but Greg Woolman
right,
was the first connection that
yeah.
Greg said, hey, there's Kevin Hicks. We were at a national, or GIS they call it today, and I went up and I think I introduced myself to you or something. But
and I think my wife Julie had babysat Greg as a little kid. so again, the connections are pretty scary close.
Greg's never been little though.
Well, that's true. That is true, but good guy, and he's getting closer to home too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in lacrosse now, so
kind of working his way back west a little bit. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know about the college, and I didn't know about your time in Illinois, so I'm glad I asked.
It was short-lived, but it was a good experience. It was just not for me.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously worked out pretty well. I noticed in my research that you celebrated your 20th anniversary at Des Moines this past spring, or past January.
Right. Yeah, I bet. Well, that's 20 years twice. So
right.
They counted the first 7 years. So I've actually been back here since 2006.
Okay. So. 20 years twice. Got it. Well, that's nice of them to do that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that sets you apart, besides being a certified superintendent, is you achieved the level of master greenkeeper. What motivated you to do that?
Well, so he's not my son at work, but my Nate,
right,
who's our North Course superintendent. During one of his reviews, I was talking to him about getting Class A superintendent, doing professional development, and all these things. And that was back in like 2012 or 13, probably 2012. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I've been CGCS since 1985, and I keep doing continuing ed and all that." And he said, "No." He said, "If you look at all the Solheim Cup superintendents and Ryder Cup superintendents, a lot of those guys are master greenkeepers." He said, "Why don't you get yours?"
This was his review or your review?
Yeah, he was reviewing me. So he kind of threw down that challenge, and so I proceeded from there to work my way to achieving that. For me, it was very difficult. I have to admit, I failed the exam twice. First time because I completely did not do what was told to me to do on the exam, and they're very particular about that.
Right.
But in 2015, I achieved it, and it's really a nice accomplishment for me.
Right. Personal goal.
Yeah, it was a personal goal for me, and so when we hosted the Solheim Cup, I was a master greenkeeper.
So I don't know the answer to this. Explain the difference between that and GCSA's certification. Where does it differ? Where is it similar?
Well, it's GCSA's certification is like, well, when I took it was like 6 different sections.
Right.
And you did the certification. You still have to have somebody attest to your golf course and come and look at everything. So that's the same in both MG and CGCS. The MG exam, first day is 5 technical questions, and you got to have 80% or better to pass that. Then the next, and that's you're given 3 hours in a computer, and no internet, no books, it's completely closed book.
Technical being agronomic.
Agronomic. It
Okay.
could be from real grinding to OSHA things. Well, theirs is not called OSHA, it's something else,
Yeah.
which is why the very first year it said the very first question was about their OSHA in the UK, and
Which was literally foreign to you.
it was very foreign to me, and
Yeah.
so I had to score 100% on the other 4 questions to pass, in which I failed. And everything is in metric system.
Another.
So everything. So an old guy like me, I had to learn the metric system all over again. You're not used to dealing with that. You learn how to write in their style. Write word, like the word favor, instead of FAVOR, it's FAVOUR.
Yep.
Try to, I don't want to say mimic what they do, but you don't want to set yourself apart as an American. You want to be judged just on the merits of your answer. Second day is they give you a case study, and they give you 1 question, and you have 3 hours to write that. And I wrote 12 pages on that.
And you've got to be at the big conference.
No. So I did mine here in Iowa. I had a proctor.
Okay.
The proctor sets you in a room just like you would a CGCS.
Sure.
But when your golf course is attested, it's attested by at least 1 MG. And so I had Curtis Tyrell he was at Medina at the time. Curtis came out and did that with Tom Feller from Cedar Rapids Country Club, who's CGCS. They allowed that to go through. Lee Strutt, I don't know if you know Lee.
I know of him.
He's in France now. He was kind of my mentor. I asked a lot of questions of him, and other MGs. Steve Cook helped me a lot. So
there's not many. I know we had Matthew Wharton on about a month ago, and he's achieved that level. But
right, I'm 67. Matthew's number 69. So I actually, Matthew and I met in that process. He contacted me, and we've since become very good friends because of that.
It's not hard to be good friends with Matthew.
No, he's a great guy. So.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. It's a neat achievement, I think, that you guys have strived for.
Yeah, when you look at it, and there's 80 guys in the world that have achieved it, it's kind of special.
Darn right it is. Darn right it is. That's neat. Does the club recognize it?
Oh yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they understand, what I went through. My general manager at the time, Jim Cutter, really supported everything and understood what I went through. And Jim has since left us. He retired.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they understand it, I think.
That's great. So let's shift gears here. I want to get this out of the way so we don't have to dwell on it. But what has COVID and the shutdowns and all of the numerous pivots that we've had in states and nationally this year, what's it done for Des Moines and your staff and your team, and how you guys have approached things this year?
Okay, so here at Des Moines Golf, my full-time summer staff is 48 people.
Okay, 2 golf courses?
For 2 golf courses for 36 holes. So,
and you manage, I assume you do the club grounds and.
Correct. I have club grounds in it, and I'm responsible for the 132 golf carts we have. So really 51 people total.
Okay.
So right away, our biggest worry was to keep the team safe. Really, all employees of the club. That our new general manager, Matt Ruling, that was one of the things he's really strived is just to keep everybody safe. So right away we adopted programs like we have bleach water we spray on everything and sanitize every piece of equipment, every tool coming in or out of the shop. We have a product called Sanidate that we purchased, and you put it in a mosquito fogger 3 days a week. After everybody leaves, somebody walks through and sanitizes all the equipment, and the shop. You put everything away. We serve a noon lunch every day to the staff. It used to be a buffet lunch. Now my admin goes over, he picks it up, he comes back, and he serves it in to-go boxes.
Okay, sure.
And he handles all the portion control. You just walk by, get a box, and go socially distanced from everybody, you know.
Right.
So a lot of guys ate outside or ate in their cars. We eat in a couple different shifts, just trying to stay apart. Everybody, one person per cart. If you're on 2 guys per cart, you had a mask on. And now that we've had this kind of respread or whatever, you know, this more COVID cases, you know, we've mandated masks. Everybody, you know, wears one in the shop now.
So there was a period where you maybe relaxed some of that stuff?
Yeah, when the doors could be open and you're not right on top of somebody, we were pretty safe. And really, I had one gentleman get exposed early. He had no problems. And then I had another one get exposed somewhere, and he actually was on a ventilator and has not been back to work yet.
Oh, is that right? Recently?
That was clear back in probably May.
Wow. Wow.
So, you know, and I don't know what if he had underlying conditions or not, but other than that, we've done really well in our department. So
good. So how about rounds? And I mean, everybody I've talked to, the rounds have been through the roof.
So we last year, well, an average for us, I wrote it down because I knew you'd ask.
Yeah.
Our average is about 48,000 rounds for both golf courses. So 24,000.
And do you have a set open and close date, or is it weather dependent?
No, it's typically just all weather driven.
Yep. Okay.
So this year we opened, probably the earliest we've ever opened was very early spring, like a March 7th, 6th
Right.
or 7th start date. We typically, I said, we do 48,000 rounds. We've done 65,000.
And membership strong?
Our membership is full.
Yep.
You know, and we've had a waiting list for years, so that's not been a problem. The one thing, like last year, we did 14,000 double rider cart rounds. This year, we've done right at, I want to say 37,000 single rider rounds.
The math doesn't help, does it?
It doesn't. You know, so if you would have asked me way back in the spring, could we sustain 40,000 single rider rounds? I would have said, there's no way that this turf could do it.
Right.
There's no way we can handle it.
Because it's never been done.
It's never been, you didn't know what to,
Yeah.
you didn't know what to expect. So we really, really concentrated this year on what our soil consultant told us to do with fertility. I figured the biggest thing is just keep the turf healthy.
Right.
So we hit every mark that Jeff helped us with. And I have to tell you, we didn't miss a lick.
Good.
Things were very good all year long.
I think that's, you know, in my limited travels, certainly in a lot of the conversations I've had, that's been the thing that that's hurt some superintendents, where they weren't prepared or didn't have a plan going into that, you know, that level of wear, and you know, are playing catch up at this point in the year as things are kind of going to sleep. So it's good you guys were on top of it.
You know, we had one week there, Kevin, I would say in August or so, where we have continuous cart paths all the way around, and it got really hot, and we just management helped me. They really supported me, and we went out and just said carts on path only.
Right.
It just slowed down the number of rounds we were having, and just that 4 or 5 days of no traffic on fairways really helped.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that leading up to the Solheim Cup, you know, where we restricted carts. So I thought, man, if we could just do that same thing for just a few days.
The luxury of having the continuous cart paths was pretty nice at that point.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So
that's great. Well, great segue. All right, let's get into the Solheim Cup. And before we get into the Solheim Cup, though, I want to talk about renovation and what you were very, very open with the renovation process on social media, and it was really fun to watch as a fellow superintendent at the time, watch that process and some of the innovations you guys did, from the sod carts to you know, covering greens as soon as they were seeded and getting things ready that way. Pete Dye was involved, I would assume.
Pete was. So we originally, when we moved to this property in 1967, Mr. Dye, this was his 12th golf course that he did.
Okay.
11th and 12th or something right there. So, fledgling architect. He had 475 acres and he did all 4 nines here. Bill Byers and Pete Dye did not get along real well. I'm a lot like Bill, where I'm very black and white. When you give me a plan and I'll build it.
Sure.
Where Pete comes out and says, no, that's just a guideline. So anyway, when I came back to Des Moines Golf, I asked Bill who the architect was, and over the years he had worked with 3 or 4 different other architects, and the club wanted to do a bunker renovation project. The bunkers had been done prior to the Senior Open in '99, but they were silted in and not draining, so they wanted to do bunker. And I said, you're a Pete Dye golf course, the only Pete Dye golf course in Iowa that's very marketable. So I said, before Pete Dye dies, let's get him back. And Jim Cutter, who our general manager at the time, had worked at Crooked Stick, knew Mr. Dye, and worked it out for him to come and get started with us. So we walked the golf course a few times. It was a treat to walk 36 holes with a guy. I mean,
Right.
I remember the very first day. It was November 5th, and it was colder than heck. And I brought out carts with side curtains on them because it was so cold. And here I thought, this old man is gonna be cold, and he took off walking. I said, Mr. Dye, the carts are right here. And he says, we'll get them when we're done. And we walked 36 holes that day. And I said, when's the last time you walked 36 holes? And he stopped in his tracks. He looked at me and said, yesterday. and I believe him, because he was in great condition, but his vision, it was just really a highlight of my career to walk with him. And so
I can't imagine. That had to have been really cool.
He brought in his associate Tim Liddy, who also lives in Indiana, and Tim is really who did the bulk of the work. Took Mr. Dye's notes, whether they were on a napkin or
Sure.
whatever he wrote them on that day, and
Yeah.
his scribbles, and put it in a master plan form. And then the club decided to move ahead. Instead of just doing a bunker project, they decided to move ahead and do kind of an a la carte renovation. We'll pick 9 holes. The committee will decide what we're going to do with the architect, and then we'll do that. So it was all slated to go in 2012, and we were a go. And then in the spring of kind of middle of 2013, it was announced we were going to host the Solheim Cup in 4 years. So we did 9 holes of renovation, 9 holes a year for 4 years.
Okay, so you did do all 36 holes.
We did.
Okay, interesting.
Because we also hosted. We're the first time that they've ever hosted the Solheim Cup and the Junior Solheim Cup at the same facility.
How many years apart was that?
Same day, same week.
The same week. Okay.
Well, actually, the Junior Solheim Cup was went Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then the Solheim Cup was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So the Junior Solheim Cup was on the other golf course, but so we prepared 36 holes, just like the Solheim. I mean,
Right, you're already there. Might as well have 2 events, right?
We're already there. We already had the people in place, and then I wanted those little girls to remember it as their Solheim Cup. So
grandstands are up, the whole big deal.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
So greens, you did all the greens?
No, we actually probably did. We did all the bunkers.
Okay. Irrigation.
Some greens had been done, prior to the Senior Open. Some had not, because there had been an expansion of University Avenue, so that had caused some construction of some greens. So it was kind of pick and choose. When Mr. Dye built this golf course, some of the greens were really undulating, very, very undulating. You couldn't, and the green speeds back then were 7 feet on a stem.
Right.
And today's speeds, you had about 3 pin placements.
Yep.
So we looked at a lot of those. We moved them. We were a par 73 on both golf courses. We went to a par 72. on both golf courses because it's a lot nicer to shoot 79 than it is an 80.
Right.
You know, so
I wouldn't know.
well, I wouldn't either
anymore.
That's probably on the front nine.
Yeah.
But you know, so it was really just a pick and choose. So all of our greens are A4, but they're all, some are sand, some are 30 years of sand over native soil.
Huh.
You know.
So, and you did irrigation, or did you do all irrigation?
Yeah, we did new mainline irrigation everywhere.
Okay.
So we had cement pipe in the ground.
Right.
So a lot of that cement pipe was very undersized. It was designed for quick couplers back in the 60s and 70s.
Sure.
And it had brass nipple where the galvanized nipple where the brass valve would hook to, and those were starting to rot out and they would explode just all of a sudden. And I said my main goal was to get rid of all that main line and get it sized so that the extremities of the golf course watered the same as the inside by the pump station. So Eric Christensen design, EC Design came in and redesigned all the main lines. So it was all new main lines. And
well, as somebody who's been through asbestos concrete, that's a good thing to put in the past, isn't it?
I never want to see that stuff again.
Just awful. So this is a question you always ask yourself, and I don't know that we've asked any of our interviewees, but what went right during the process, and what would you do differently at this point?
Boy,
in hindsight,
you know, I would not have my crew as involved as what we did.
Yeah.
You know, I think
you think you can do that stuff, and then all of a sudden everything else takes a back seat, right?
Right. I mean, you know, you're still running 36 hole or 27 holes for the membership. We focused on that a lot, but I think we burned out some guys.
Sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I remember the very first year, you tweeted me, dude, aren't you going to take a day off or something? I mean, it was like, and you were right. I mean, I overworked, and you know, I don't know if you know this, but as soon as the Solheim Cup was done, I actually had to have double knee replacement.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, and you know, it was just,
you probably needed it before that, but you put it off a little bit to
right.
get all that stuff behind you.
You know, so you wonder, jumping in and out of tractors and up and down skid loaders and walking on, you know, how much damage did you actually do to yourself? You know.
Yeah, that's true.
But what went right? I mean, we learned an awful lot. It was a good renovation. It was a great Solheim. I mean, it turned out well. I think we were very pleased with what we did for our membership, and they were very proud with how the golf course looked.
Right. So the last 9 was, because the Solheim Cup was in August.
August of 17. So the last 9 was actually the Junior Solheim Cup 9.
Okay.
We rented the first 2 years. We renovated the interior of the golf course, which is the Solheim Cup holes.
Okay. And so they used 18 holes, and then that last.
Actually, that's not right either. We did it in quadrants, northwest, northeast. Yeah. But we didn't want the Solheim Cup course being anything there being the last year of renovation.
So was the Solheim Cup course 18 holes of either the north or the south, or did they?
Right, it's the back 9 of the north was 1 through 9.
Okay.
And then 1 through 7 south, 17, 18.
Okay.
So if you look at our property, it's all the interior holes. It's none of the holes by the interstate or the highway or anything, and it keeps that peripheral noise down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I never had a chance to play your course. I played Wakanda in school again, but
okay.
And I don't know where does Drake play their home events?
You know, they used to play some here. We haven't had any really collegiate matches lately, but I'm not sure what. It's probably one of the city courses now.
That's been a few years.
Yeah,
it's been 30-something years since I played. Yeah, I don't recall much. So Solheim Cup goes off. I want to ask, that last 9 of renovation, was that finishing the same year that you hosted the Cup, or was it the previous year?
Well, it was slated to be done in the fall of 2016,
Okay.
but we got weathered out, and so we had to finish the spring of 2017, and we finished laying all the sod that spring, and then I think we were done by the end of April, and then turn right around and
So
start.
you didn't breathe for 5 years.
No.
Jeez.
You know, and Kevin, it was kind of a funny thing. Nate and I were both very avid hunters. He and I bought a boat together to duck hunt in the spring of 2013, and sold it the fall of 2013 because
You knew.
we knew there was no.
Well, it's an opportunity to upgrade. You know, you don't want to look at it as a loss. You can upgrade when the time comes, right?
Yeah. So
So he was with you. When did he start?
he came here right out of college. So I moved here in 2006. So he probably came here in 07, I think, as an intern, and
Okay.
then made his way up. He worked for Greg Willman on the crew and Aaron Porter, and became an assistant, and then finally became a superintendent. So
Is he a Cyclone, I assume?
no,
No.
he actually went to a 2-year community college
Okay.
also,
Cool.
Kirkwood Community College over in Cedar Rapids. So
Yeah. Got a good baseball team there.
they do.
Yeah. All right. So I'm looking at the time, and I want to get Solheim Cup in. What was the most memorable part of that event for you?
You know, the whole thing is a blur. There's a lot. I mean, obviously, leading up to the Solheim, I got to attend the Solheim in Colorado at the Colorado Golf Club,
Right.
and then I got to attend in 2015 in Germany. So that was a treat to go to Germany
That's cool.
and go to Europe and
Did Sherry
do
get to go
those
with you?
things. Pardon me?
Did Sherry get to go with you on
Yeah,
that?
Terry went with me, and the golf pro Scott Howe and his wife Lori and Jim Cutter and his wife. We all went, and we basically were in Europe for 10 days together. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
We were in Germany, we were in Paris, we were in London. So that was very memorable. And I actually spent the day or two with the superintendent in Germany, traveling around at St. Leon Road, that golf course. It was a lot of fun, and to see how they did things, which was really cool. Here, though, I think it was just a blur. But you go back and you look, and the people that came here, I wanted to do it with Iowa people,
Volunteers.
volunteers.
Sure. Yeah.
So besides our own team, we felt we needed 100 people a day.
Okay.
So if I have a team of 50, we needed 50 volunteers, and the Iowa superintendents really stepped up. They
Right.
did a great job. You're getting, one 9-hole guy, he was driving 70 miles one way to mow fairways in the morning. He'd go work on his golf course, and he'd be back that night mowing fairways again for us.
And probably still talks about it, right?
Yeah, it just, it's that type of commitment we had. It just made it really special. And then, guys like Greg Wellman and Aaron Porter, and some of those guys that had worked here in the past, they came back and worked for me. Kevin Ross was here. Steve Cook came over from Chicago. So, I'd worked the Ryder Cup in 04 for Steve. So he came and worked here with us, and that was a lot of fun. So
Nice.
Probably the biggest thing, everybody told me the Golf Channel people were the worst to work with. And so
Some can be.
well, I've never experienced them. So our goal, I told our team, I said, we got to knock their socks off. We'll be as nice as we can be to them. So we bent over backwards to make sure that everything was perfect for them. And they in turn acted as best, the most professional group I've ever seen. They didn't, can we drive here? Can we do this? I mean, they were great to work with. So
Mutual respect, right?
right.
Yeah.
So that really bode well for us and for them, I think. So.
It's like you said, they are as good at their game as anybody I've ever run across. I mean, be in that production trailer and watch some of that stuff. It's amazing
cool.
what they do.
Yeah.
And make it look easy.
You know, the last day Nate got to, I think he and Kevin Ross went up in the, you know, the tower 120 feet up or whatever the heck that goes way up there, and
Right.
took some pictures, and you know, you never would have got to do that if you'd not worked with them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important. You know, you could be, it's kind of like our relationship with folks up in the clubhouse. You can either butt heads all the time and make life really difficult, or you can get along and make it a whole lot easier.
That's right. It's a lot easier to get along.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and the nice thing when it was all over with, Ken and John Del Vecchio, the two Golf Channel guys, sent my team. They said, "What are all your sizes?" And they said, everybody like 4 or 5 shirts a piece, a pullover,
Oh, wow.
you know, all that. So it was.
You did knock their socks off. Good for
Yeah.
you. That's cool. So back to the golf course. What challenges you in Des Moines at Des Moines Country Club? What are your toughest either seasonal challenges or infrastructure or you know, what keeps you up at night?
Definitely our water. So our irrigation water is out of the Jordan Aquifer.
Okay.
And so our well, we have one main well. It's a 14-inch casing size well. It's 2,808 foot deep. Water comes out at 81 degrees, and it's probably the worst water you can imagine. It's high in bicarbonates, high in salinity.
I'll send you a test from a customer in Colorado. We can compare notes. I'm not sure it's the worst, but I believe you that it's bad.
Well, it's the worst for Iowa. When I was at Elmcrest, we had great water. Doing a saturated paste extract test now means all the world to me. Before, right. I never did any of that to see how the soils would react to the water, and that really I've learned a lot in that way.
Well, and the paste, like you said, is such a great tool to see those fluctuations, especially on sand-based systems like our greens. You know, you
right.
Like our agronomist Bill McKibben always says, what your water is, your soil will be in a low CEC situation really quickly.
You know, so for us this year, when we went into a drought situation and you're well dependent,
right, bad
for
deal.
6-8 weeks, you know, we were getting ball marks with salt deposits on them.
Really?
Yeah, completely white. I'll send you a picture, but it was pretty ugly.
So what are you doing to mitigate that?
We were spraying some organic acids,
okay,
and just trying to flush it when we could.
Yep.
You know, we'll do a needle tine aerification and then a Vivax application and then do a flush that night, trying to get it as low as we could, and then just wait for rain.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we use a lot of gypsum everywhere. I mean, greens, tees, fairways.
And your fairways are bent grass?
Bent grass. We have 70 acres of bent grass fairways.
Okay.
So, you know, when you're going out at 1,000 pounds per acre of gypsum, you know, twice a year, that's quite a bit of product.
Darn right. Yeah.
But, you know, you've got to get that calcium in the system or it's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd love to take a look at those. It's yeah, with the area of the country that I deal with, it's easily the most limiting factor is water quality or water quantity, one of the two.
Right. So besides that, I think anybody will tell you finding staff, retaining staff, it's been difficult.
How big is Des Moines? And
Des Moines, you know, I guess that's a good question. Probably 1.2 million.
Okay.
But you know, there's a lot of competition now for jobs and you know, wages. A lot of people are paying that, you know, $13, $14 an hour starting wage or whatever, and you've got to try to compete with that.
Right. Yeah, it's hard, and I don't know that I've had anybody that I've talked to this year that said that they're really flush with people. It's not going to get any easier. That's probably the hardest, you know, thing that I deal with. Bill Byers always told me, he said the number one thing that will keep you up at night is people. Yep.
And he was right. managing people is difficult.
They'll make you or break you, right? And a lot of times both in the same day.
Right.
Well, we covered turf types. You've done some cool innovations, and I haven't seen much follow-up on this. Maybe it's something you don't want to talk about, but one of the things I saw recently was your experimentation and kind of your partnership with the kitchen on a hydroponic system for growing vegetables for the restaurants.
Right. Well, so we partnered with a company that a local startup company. It's called Freight Farm. The unit is a freight, so it's called Freight Farms.
Shipping container.
Right. It's a shipping container.
Yeah.
And it's been converted to a hydroponic greenhouse, and everything is growing vertically in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you took 1 acre of farm ground under production, that's what can be grown in a freight farm.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I tell you what, it's the coolest thing. So the reason they came to Des Moines Golf was because you can't just put a shipping container behind a business. Zoning laws will not allow you to do that. So we were zoned that we can have a shipping container on our property. So we ran potable water there to them. We ran electricity to them with their own meter. And basically, for X amount of dollars a month of product or produce, they give to the kitchen for leaving the freight farms there. The rest of it, then they use it as, they sell to other restaurants, they sell to co-ops or whatever, or whatever.
So you've got a surplus of produce that your club doesn't consume?
No, we don't. No, we just get X amount. So,
okay.
So the chef may ask for microgreens. He may ask for a type of romaine. He may ask for whatever of a leafy green. And what the nice thing is they can grow that then for him. Takes about from seedling to end about 7 to 8 weeks.
Huh.
So like if you're having a wedding here in next February and you want leafy romaine lettuce that's purple, they can do that.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, they can manipulate the color of it, by the variety type and what lights they run at night, right, and all that stuff. And
very interesting. So you love those types of innovations.
I do. I just think it's the coolest thing. I think it's the way of the future. Right now they're growing a lot of turnips, a lot of beets.
So it'll be a 12-month production.
It's 12 months a year. There's over 200 of these freight farms in the United States. Almost every state has at least one.
But they're based in Des Moines?
No, they're based in Boston.
Oh.
So basically what these people did was buy the franchise rights to Des Moines or whatever. And
interesting. Wow. So I had this a little bit further down the list, but one of the things, us older timers, and I'll lump myself in there, but your top 5 innovations in the turf industry, maybe not a hydroponic freight farm, but what are your top 5 that you said those were game changers?
I would say moisture meter.
Yep.
The computer, no doubt.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably number 1 for
right.
me.
Right.
That I've seen.
Isn't that amazing to think that we were at the point where there weren't any computers, right?
Right. I remember getting the first computer when I went to Elmcrest, and I thought at the MS-DOS prompt you could type a letter. I had no idea what it was.
Right.
I have to tell you, social media. I think social media has brought this whole turf community closer.
It shrunk the world.
Yeah, it really did, because now I can talk to Matthew Wharton in Carolina, or I can talk to Darren Davis in Florida, or you up in Coeur d'Alene, or everybody's at a fingertip.
Yeah.
All
right, that's 3.
Airification equipment.
You're going to hit my top 5 for sure.
That alone, and now that I have 3 GPS sprayers.
There it is. Those are my 5.
I just, yeah, it's
So
amazing.
So you've been running those for the GPS for how long?
On greens, 2 years. On fairways was our first year. So
Okay.
the 2 fairway units have auto steer. So the guy just sits there.
Right.
I mean, it steers itself.
It's amazing. They're amazing.
And you know, return on investment was about 2 years per sprayer.
Right.
You know, I just couldn't believe the amount of product that we, I don't want to say wasting,
Overspray.
overspray,
Yeah.
or put it, you know, going in the wrong place,
Right.
you know, off target.
Incredibly accurate, time savings.
Yeah.
You know, the folks I talk to that say, you know, I can't afford to implement something like that. It's amazing how you can't not afford to do it if you really take a good look at it.
You know, we have a very interesting mixing loading facility also that we worked back with BAS up on. They were going to take it to market and they never did, but they gave it to me, gave it to Des Moines Golf for helping them. And so, you know, we can mix and load with a computer. I can actually be on the golf course with my iPad and start it, and it draws all the product in. No kidding. So if I tell it to put in 3 ounces of Daconil, it knows what Daconil weighs, the specific gravity of it, and it puts it in by weight.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty. So with with that machine and then the GPS spraying, we can't get much more accurate than that.
Or efficient.
Right. Or efficient.
Yeah.
So
that was the biggest game changer for us. We had 2 manual systems that we had to deploy both to stay ahead of play. And you know, I retrofitted a unit. I don't know if you had units built or you retroed, but we cut a whole machine out and a whole operator, and that's not an $8 an hour guy you're cutting out. That's a technical guy that you can use for a lot of different things. Yeah, those are exactly my top 5. Exactly.
You know, I've been involved with a lot of the mapping over the years. You know, worked with Toro on their precision mapping products. The you know, a lot of the soil sensors, did a lot of work with that early on. We did a lot of work with the NDVI, not only the drones, but we had NDVI on the back of our fairway mowers, and we would mow all day, and then we come in and it would show the delta or the change in the turf.
Yep.
And then you could see if things were trending one way or another and try to figure out why.
Are you still utilizing that?
No, that was all just experimental stuff that we did over the years. So
very, very interesting. Yeah, I think sensing technology is going to be, we're going to have to add that to our list here the next time.
Oh, I think so too. I think precision farming is going to play into a role here where you're not only putting the right thing down, but you're putting it the right amount in the right spot.
At the right place, yeah.
Yeah, at the right place, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ag's had it for a long time, as you know, in corn bean country, but to scale it to what golf and sports turf needs, you know, they've got it now. They've definitely nailed it. So, so last question before my lightning round, so I don't keep you long. Best advice you can give for young people trying to get into the business. Hopefully we can get people into the business, number one, but
that's a huge hurdle, is keeping them in the business, keeping them engaged, you know, because they're no longer, I mean, everybody wants to sit behind a computer and work 40 hours a week. So best advice, marry someone that understands what you're doing.
That's good. That's good advice. You're right.
You know, if Sherry hadn't understood what I did for a living and come out and be part of it, and my kids with me, I never would have made it this far.
Right.
So
establish good partnerships.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right. So these don't require any thought, and you kind of set me up last night when we were texting back and forth. But first thing pops into your head. I haven't done a lightning round before, but beer, bourbon, or wine?
Bourbon.
All right.
Crown.
I kind of figured that.
I'm a Scotch guy too. But.
All right. Now this goes back to, you don't want to upset Mr. Dye in his grave. Walk or ride?
Walk.
Always?
Yeah. No, I ride because of my knees.
Because your knees. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love to walk. When we went to Ireland here 2 years ago, we walked every day. I loved it.
Yeah, it's the best way to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Grill or dine out? I know the answer to this.
Oh, grill.
Yeah. So this is your setup one for me. Green egg, gas, or Traeger?
I got 2 big green eggs.
You told me you were going to roast me on that, and I am admittedly a lazy smoker, so I set myself up for that.
But I have a Bradley smoker too, and I got a flat top grill. So
yeah, you've got a few tools in your tool.
Yeah, I do. I love to cook. So
what's your specialty, or what's your fave?
I do some good baby back ribs, but I can make some good sushi also.
I might have to get your baby back. We've done them twice, and they got demolished. They did not last very long with our 3 boys. So I might have to share some recipes with you. American golf or UK golf?
Oh boy, I really love the UK.
Okay.
Or in Ireland. I mean, it's something special to walk a
totally different
Lahinch, or to see it and to see those native dunes that, we played Dunebeg, which was a great golf course, but that was Trump's place, kind of manufactured dunes.
Right.
And then you play a place like Lahinch or Enniscrone, or Rossapena, and it's just natural. And
you can't recreate it.
You can't recreate it. But then you go to places like Whistling Straits or Bandon Dunes, and they've recreated, or Prairie Dunes, or
yeah, Prairie Dunes is one of my favorites here in the States anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of special places here. So that's a tough one.
Yeah. Top 5 golf experiences.
So non-golf, not playing.
It could be non-golf. This could be not playing too.
Zach Johnson asked me to go to his first Masters with him.
Is he as genuine a human being as I think he is?
He's as great a kid as you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've known Zach since he was 9 or 10 years old at Elmcrest, and, just seeing him there was pretty special.
All right. Zach Johnson's first Masters.
So playing in Ireland was excellent. I played Flint Hills, Prairie Dunes. Probably one of my most favorite golf courses to play was Pelican Hill, Ocean North in Newport Beach.
Okay.
Really enjoyed that golf course. Fazio design. Working the Ryder Cup for Steve Cook at Oakland Hills.
Some of those experiences are hard to beat.
Yeah, they're
camaraderie and the lifelong friendships, and really cool.
So I don't know if that's 5 or not, but
that's 5. That's 5, and they're all good ones for sure. So I promised I'd keep you no more than an hour, and we're right up against that time. It always goes quickly.
It did.
And I really, really thank you for the time, and hopefully the snow stays around for a little bit so you can breathe and fire up the egg. And
we're actually out there deep tining greens right now.
So is that something you like to do, just to keep some drainage in the system?
I've never done it this late, but we developed a hard pan layer about 4 or 5 inches down, where we haven't deep tined in several years, with the construction and Solheim, it just kind of got away from us. And I really wanted to punch a hole down through that old sand layer and through that, just to get a channel down and be able to flush a little deeper next year if I have to.
Right. Get some winter flushing going. That's great. Well, Rick, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Great. Happy Thanksgiving to you and Julie.
Yeah, you as well, and say hi to the family, and hopefully the grills are all working and everything will be great this week, and your family gets together and have a great off season, and we'll talk to you sooner than later, I'm sure.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
All right, thanks.
Bye.